Sad is a man who's asked for a story and can't come up with one.
His 5-year-old son waits in his lap. Not the same story, Baba. A new one. The man rubs his chin, scratches his ear.
In a room full of books, in a world of stories, he can recall not one, and soon he thinks the boy will give up on his father.
Already the man lives far ahead. He sees the day this boy will go. Don't go! Hear the alligator story, the angel story once more. You love the spider story. You laugh at the spider. Tell me it.
But the boy is packing his shirts. He is looking for his keys. Are you a god, the man screams, that I sit mute before you? Am I a god that I should never disappoint?
But the boy is here. Please, Baba, a story. It is an emotional rather than logical equation, an earthly rather than heavenly one, which posits that a boy's supplications and a father's love add up to silence.
Okay, so we are annotating the poem A Story by Lee Young Lee. So in the first stanza, it starts with, sad is the man who has asked for a story and can't come up with one. So this is a really hypothetical statement, and the rest of the poem goes into a real situation. So it's a bit of compare and contrast. And it also brings up the topic that is sadness, which is also used a lot throughout the story, so it kind of sets the stage.
The next stanza starts with his 5-year-old son waits on his lap. Not the same story, Baba, a new one. So here we see Baba, which is a cultural term generally in the Greek culture, but it's a term of endearment. It's more than just a father or a father figure. It's truly someone you have a relationship with, and it's your dad. So this not only identifies the speaker as the father, which connects it back to the sad man who we believe is in the first stanza, but it shows that they have a relationship. It continues in the stanza with the man rubs his chin, scratches his ear. So this is a sign of worry and thought without explicitly stating it. It's also a sign. It's also foreshadowing what is to come with the worry and the tone of the rest of the poem. Yeah.
So the next stanza is in a room full of books, in a world of stories. So full of books is a tangible thing, and it kind of shows that books don't really matter, and that only memories matter, because it's the stories and what's happening in the world that matters to him, not books and like made up things. So he can recall not one, and soon he thinks the boy will give up on his father. So that last sentence, the boy will give up on his father, is a pressing fear of the father, which is brought up throughout the entirety of this poem, is that the father is worried about his son. And so the shifts between the last stanza and this stanza and on to the next stanza, it begins to get more desperate and anxious and worrisome as it goes on. And the stanzas also grow in length. So as they grow in length, the more worry the father is expressing throughout about his child.
So the next stanza begins with, already the man lives far ahead. He sees the day this boy will go. Don't go. Hear the alligator story, the angel story once more. You love the spider story. You laugh at the spider. Let me tell it. So the angel, which is in the third line of this stanza, is the first of 3 religious motifs, which 3 is already a religious number, but it shows, we'll talk about it later on more, but it shows how the speaker feels like he's tainting or corrupting his son's life, and he feels like he's not living up to everything his son needs him to be. And also the let me tell it is kind of a metaphor for him wanting to find his presence in his son's life while his son is growing up and becoming independent. And that's a really hard thing for parents to go through, because it's conflicting, because they want their children to be on their own and good members of society, yet they want their children to always need them, and they want to feel important in their children's life.
So yeah. So the next stanza shows a shift in age. So the son is older now because it says, but the boy is packing his shirts. He is looking for his keys. So it's a shift in age because the boy has gotten older, which is, this is all in the father's imagination, that the boy's growing up and leaving. And it's also him packing his shirts and looking for his keys are tangible things, and their meaningful importance of expression and independence, which the father clearly isn't ready for based on earlier in the stanzas and things that he was saying. So then it goes on to say, are you a god? The man screams. So God is the second of 3 religious references in this, the word God. So that just means that, like, this is all has deeper meaning. And then it says, then the man screams. So screams is the epitome of desperation. When you're screaming, you are really truly feeling emotion. So they could have just said yelled or said, but the man is screaming. That shows how deep this emotion is. That I sit mute before you. And so he uses silence a lot when he's just, I feel like, in awe. He reverts to silence when he's uncomfortable or in awe or doesn't know what to say, this, like many people do. This man just reverts to silence and just starts thinking and overthinking and thinking about everything. Am I a God that I should never disappoint? So it's impossible for a parent to not disappoint their kids no matter how hard they try. You're going to disappoint your kids at some point, and it's really hard for the father to understand that he can't do every single thing that his child wants, no matter how badly he wants. So he wants to be a God that he can never disappoint his son, but he just can't help it because he will disappoint him at some point.
So then it comes to the last stanza, which starts with, but the boy is here. And this shows that the past few stanzas have been in his imagination, that the boy growing up wasn't real. It comes back to the present, or what we can assume is the 5-year-old boy sitting on the dad's lap. And this is a pretty hard, wake back into reality. It's a pretty sudden shift, whereas the other ones were pretty gradual. And it really shows that how misguided the dad got and how how he just jumped to conclusions and kind of went crazy because of his fear and his worry. So then it continues on. Please, Baba, a story. So Baba, again, is a sign of affection, and he just wants his dad. The son just wants his dad. It's an emotional rather than logical equation, an earthly rather than heavenly one. The heavenly is the third religious reference, which posits that a boy's supplications and a father's love add up to silence. So here again we see silence, but it's a different kind of silence than before. It's more of like an understanding between the two members of the poem. They're very, it ends with a period. It's very succinct. It's just they understand that they haven't come to those situations yet, and that it's coming, but they don't need to get there. They just need to live in the moment. Yeah.
So that's it.
I think so. Yeah.